Thank you. Welcome everyone. Hope you all had good lunch. I'll immediately start so that we can finish on time. I'll start with Samir. Samir, if you remember, we were discussing about entry to cities like Ayodhya and other smaller cities. So, how difficult to set up base there? And you were also talking about the supply chain challenges.
Yes, well, first of all, thank you to ET and thank you to you for an amazing event. Uh, Non-metro cities, tier two cities are definitely the growth centers, the growth hubs for all brands. But with that come, for me in particular, Meena Bazaar in particular, a lot of challenges, logistical issues for sure, manpower issues for sure. Um, I think these two really are the bottlenecks that we are facing. Not a lot of smart manpower is available in those tier two cities or non-metros currently. Not a lot of logistical support. The time taken from our warehouse in Delhi to all these cities, even Hyderabad, even Kochi, is quite a bit and very expensive. So for us as a brand, apart from the challenge of just opening new stores every month, these are the bottlenecks that we are facing. I mean, the growth story is definitely for each and every brand in India are the non-metros, but with growth comes its challenges.
I'll come to Kamal next. Is finding the right real estate is also a challenge in smaller cities.
So it's not really a challenge finding the right place. The real challenge is predictability. You see, there is no consistency of development from of real estate. That'll be in the non-metros in particular, because as the towns are evolving and emerging as markets, it's very difficult to predict which ones will do well and not. There are certain markets that are established and are already doing well, but the main challenge becomes being able to consistently predict which market will do well. That's the biggest challenge we face. And then it's all about, what's the life cycle at which you're entering a particular town. If you're entering a town in the early stages, then you do fine, but it's difficult to predict at that stage. At other stages, it becomes difficult to find a place, and a rental also becomes a challenge at that stage. But I guess that's India for you, and that's something we have to live with, and it's the same in metros.
Okay, but how do you do that? How do you plan the entry?
Uh, we have, we have one of the largest footprint of retail stores in the country as a single brand in the mid-premium to premium space. Currently, we have about 435 stores all over India. So we have enough intelligence locally available in every city that's evolving. We've been one of the early entrants actually as far as tier 2, tier 3 towns were concerned. And some towns really end up, pleasantly surprising us. There are very, very small towns that really give us good business. And like I said, there are some which are relatively larger, but the business doesn't turn out. So it's a lot to do with the local intelligence that we have that is spread all over, even through our partners. Our business has been built on relationships. So all our distributor partners and our business partners are involved with us in retail. So we get a lot of local intel from them, and hence we are able to predict a little bit better in that way.
Okay, I'll come to Gargi next. Gargi, if you can tell us about the consumer behavior in non-metro and metro cities. How are they different? Please go
Sure.
ahead.
First of all, thank you so much for having me on this esteemed panel today. Quick introduction about PinCode, first of all, to set context. PinCode is a phone pay group company. We are basically a product that we've started building about a year back. We are a quick commerce platform, but the primary difference is that we are working with offline retailers, lit offline stores, rather than dark stores or warehouses. Coming to your question,
Yes.
Faizan. Uh, we have also, by the way, started in a bunch of metros and non-metros mix of cities. Examples being Bangalore, Varanasi. And yes, there are differences between consumer behaviors across the metros and non-metros. When you talk about certain parameters, in non-metros, they are price sensitive right now. Over convenience, cost is more critical for them. There's a very strong affinity towards regional brands, that's second. when they will, if they're migrating towards quick commerce right now, by the way, which is already expanding now,
Yes.
they are going to look for products which are not available in offline ecosystem at this point of time. Because these popular brands in metros have a lower concentration in non-metros, some of them. So that's one primary thing on the side of non-metros. On the metro side, these are convenience-seeking cohort of customers. They are now ready to pay a premium for convenience, basically, and they were hence very fast adopters of quick commerce. They are brand conscious, and even when it comes to some other daily essential categories like fruits, vegetables, meat, dairy, etc., they want a variety of selection options, as well as branded healthy options and whatnot, but everything in quick commerce effectively.
Yeah, but we have most of the fashion brands here.
Yeah.
How does fashion brands behave on the quick commerce
Yeah,
platform?
so that I'll move to now. By the way, coincidentally, we are now going to enter into the fashion category as well. When we started our journey, we started on the grocery side, daily essentials.
Yes.
Now we are going to foray into other categories, and a large chunk of that is going to be fashion. I know for a fact that coming from PhonePe payments, by the way, I've been with PhonePe for a long time now. Most of the fashion brands have a larger presence. Their store presence in the non-metros, so our model bodes very well for them. We will effectively be talking to them to put their stores more to work, tie up with us so that we can enable them, just open more demand for them. We will just have to work closely with the stores so that they can quickly accept and pack orders and we can get the product to the customers in a short duration of time. We are already doing 15-minute delivery. We will be landing in this range for lifestyle fashion category as well, which is going to be very exciting. On the non-metro front, on the fashion side of things, customers are already getting very aspirational. Talking about PhonePe, a majority of our base is actually sitting in non-metros, by the way. Not many people might be aware with that. And we know that e-commerce, more than 50% contribution comes from non-metros, and a large chunk of that is fashion. So this combination of digital payments and e-commerce will effectively lead towards a very good marriage between our model and when we talk about fashion ecosystem,
But
store ecosystem.
I'd like to ask Amitabh, do you think 15-minute delivery is needed in fashion segment?
Sorry?
The 15-minute delivery she's talking about, is it needed in the fashion segment?
I'm an old school man, so I will answer in two parts. Yes, QSR is based on fast deliveries. I don't know how many men need a t-shirt in 15 minutes. Having said that, that was my belief before. We recently made our debut on quick commerce, and I was quite taken aback by the sheer volumes it's been driving. I think consumers are getting lazier by the day, and I guess that's what the reason for them to buy a product in 15 minutes. But it's coming on the grounds of essential products. It's not coming on fashion so much. I recently saw a hoarding where Bharat Matrimonial was giving on the left-hand side was Bharat Matrimonial. On the right-hand side, there was some ethnic wear brand who claimed to give a Shadi ka Dulha outfit in 10 minutes. Now, it kind of made me smile for a bit, but it's coming. I mean, it's not a fact. It sounds a little abstruse to people like us from the old world, but this is what I'm seeing the consumers gravitate towards.
Okay. Rahul, the next question is about retail spaces expansion. So if fashion quick delivery is here, do you think brands should expand more in tier 2 cities, smaller cities, rather than going to high rental places in metros?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you. I think the question is not really about whether the brand should go to tier 2 or not. The question really is the how. And that should be the focus, because very clearly, if I were to just throw some numbers on this one, for almost 30% of institutional real estate assets are actually operating outside of tier 1.
Outside the?
Outside of tier 1. And this is expected to go up 2.5 times of what it is now. If I were to talk internally about our business, which is a lot of these beauty fashion brands, Body Shop being our flagship, we've got almost 35% of our business coming outside of tier 1 for Body Shop, right? And about 50% of our stores are actually located outside of tier 1. So that gives you a perspective, right? I mean, there is a vintage brand which has been there for 20 years and has actually been a sort of a front runner in expansion into tier 2, tier 3. we're even looking at beyond tier 3 at this stage. And we're also realizing good business and a fantastic ROI from these markets for Body Shop. Yeah. Let me dial this up even further. So we've got a brand which is a prestige beauty brand called Anastasia, Beverly Hills, which is again, like I said, pretty high price points. About 30% of our business is actually coming outside of tier 1, and we've only started expanding, very recently, right, beyond the top cities. What I'm sharing with you, Fizan, is not inclusive of our e-commerce business. That's
separate.
I'm talking store business. So I think it's really about the how. It's not whether you should or you shouldn't. Yeah. And I must make one more point, and this is something that I was thinking through. Tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 is actually just a mindset. If you actually draw a circle from here, in a radius of 5 kilometers from where we are right now at BKC, you would find all 5 tiers of this country, right?
True.
So it's not really about going down to another city. You would actually have all 5 tiers right here in a 5-kilometer radius, and that's the India for you, right? So it all coexists. So that brings me, to the other point, that it's not really about cutting by town classes. It's really about cutting through consumer segments and giving access to your brands, for those consumer segments. So, and of course, there's a whole lot of how, which will make you succeed in these sort of so-called lower tiers, which includes what is your price pack combination, how relevant are you locally, to the consumer out there. What kind of access point are you picking up? Are you going high street or are you going malls? Where is the mall located in that sort of so-called non-metro? Where are you located? Is it in the city center, or is it outside the city center? So there are a whole lot of considerations, and I can talk about that for 2 hours. I don't want to do that here. But again, the bottom line is it's the how. It's not so much about whether you should. I think every brand should actually be looking at expanding into the next tiers very clearly. And it's not sequential. It's not like you make it big in tier 1 and then move to the next tiers. It's really about just going at it almost at the same time. Again, depending on what's the propensity to sort of spend and invest in.
Rajesh ji, for a brand like yours, a premium brand, how important tier 2 cities, smaller cities or non-metro cities, whatever you want to call it?
Thank you, Fayaz. Good afternoon, friends. Before I answer the question, I would just like to set the context right. I work for a brand called Lacoste. Lacoste is an international premium lifestyle brand, and perhaps that is where Faizan's question was also coming, that how relevant it is for an international premium lifestyle brand. So Faizan, very important, very, very relevant for us. In fact, with the growing aspirations and increasing disposable income, I don't think tier 1 and tier 2 are any afterthoughts anymore. They, in my view, they're actually perhaps would be the drivers of growth in future. And any premium or non-premium brand, if they invest today in those markets, they will reap the benefits and capitalize on that investment for years to come. So even in our case, we have stores in tier 1 and tier 2 cities. In fact, in last calendar year itself, we opened our boutiques in tier 1 and tier 2 cities like Dehradun, Ahmedabad, and then Kochi, and Batinda in Punjab. And in this year also, we have a very strong pipeline, and that pipeline has some part of this for tier 1 and tier 2 cities also. And if I talk about the revenue generation from these tier 1 and tier 2 cities also, the contribution of that revenue to our overall sales is increasing day by day, not only because we are expanding to these market, but also because the same store sales growth is much faster in tier 1 and tier 2 cities as compared to the, let's say, the matured market of metros or bigger towns. But it's not only about the sale. It's not only about the revenue. It's for our kind of brand, we feel that it's reaching out to that customer who is aspirational, who is getting more and more disposable income, and they have exposure to all the international and Indian brands, through internet, because of social media, the internet, the reach has become very wide for most of the customers across the country. It's not limited only to the metros or big cities anymore. Now, if I look at it from the consumer's perspective, so if we just go a little back in time and we see at that time, consumers would see that if they want a global brand, they were getting exposed to those global brands through internet and media, but they were not able to reach out to those brands themselves. So they would rely either on traveling to those bigger cities, or they would rely on some people coming from those bigger cities and bringing some international brands to them. But then online came, e-commerce came into India, and they started getting direct access to those international premium brands. But I would like to add here, getting something from e-commerce or getting directly walking into an international premium brand's store and getting a complete experience is a completely different thing. So they feel that they're more attached to the brand because they are experiencing the brand on the first hand basis. Given all these things, tier 1 and tier 2 cities are becoming very important for all the brands, whether it is international or Indian, whether premium or non-premium. And I think that's extremely important for us also, and we are definitely expanding into those markets.
Great, great, sir. Anandji, my next question is about formal versus casual. I mean, Rajesh ji sells mostly casual, but there is a lot of talk about office going casual. So how is formal we are doing in metro cities and non-metro cities?
Yeah, I think we've been talking about this, tier 2, non-metro in Bharat for quite a long time.
Yes, yes.
And I think as we've been speaking, I think the gap between the metro and non-metro is, shrinking kind of a thing. Right? Because, Rajesh said also that the consumers having a lot more access these days, lot more aspiration. People wants to dress the same way. They want to shop similar experience because they are, got this exposure from digital and Insta, and then they are also traveling both nationally, internationally, and stuff like that. So I think, in terms of consumption point of view, I think today there's not much of difference between metro and non-metro. Largely because of population, the throughput may be slightly different. Okay, but coming to the question of in terms of formal wear versus non-formal wear in metro and non-metro, yes, today the way the formal segment is also changing. It's changing quite drastically. It's no more those very formal shirts and very formal trousers, but there are various phases of formal brand which has come in. So it could be the occasion based kind of merchandise where we do a lot of what should say more occasion products, where we have collections like 1851 New York, which caters to a slightly a different consumer who is not wearing completely formal, but he wants to be dressed up for the occasion. Even what we are seeing that in non-metro, a lot of startups are coming in, lot of the
D2C
second generation entrepreneurs are coming in who are fashion forward, who wants to dress up for the occasion kind of a thing. So I think there are smart casuals which is replacing the workwear space. So consumers are wearing smart casuals to office in terms of from a formal point of view. So I think different age group today dress differently, and I think whether it's a metro or non-metro, there would be some difference because of course in metro you have lot more office wear kind of thing, and non-metro you don't have that kind of office environment. But I think as a brand we cater to a larger occasion, and I think both in terms of smart casuals as well as occasion wear, we satisfy both metro and non-metro customers.
Great,
Yeah.
great. Karanji, you tell us about the value fashion part of it. I mean, we hear a lot about value fashion. All the brands are talking about it. So, is it only for non-metros or metro cities is also going for value fashion? And how is it doing in non-metros?
See, if I just step back a little bit, I think value fashion, of course, for value fashion, non-metros is extremely critical for obvious reasons. And the non-metro growth story has been and will continue to be very relevant in the near future, and we are very bullish about it. I think if I just separate the growth opportunity and the consumer behavior part of it, I think everyone's covered it. But for us, what is important is we understand that this consumer set in the non-metros has higher access than she ever had. When I say access, they have access to brands, assortment, deals, convenience, all thanks to e-com penetration. She's far more aspirational. Everyone spoke about it, but now she has the ability to meet that aspiration. Disposable income obviously is on the rise, but the definition of disposable income is changing dramatically. So I think all of these are great markers for us. Economic markers are also great. Infrastructure development, government spending, IT hubs coming in non-metros. We are seeing reverse migration also happening now. People like an easier life of non-metro. They like the cost of living to be lower, and they have access. So for us, it's definitely a great opportunity. But I'll talk about a little bit what Rahul said, that the how part of it is what someone's not figured out for many years. We've been talking about non-metro as a growth story for a long time. We've been in non-metros for a while. We've seen two big challenges. One, I think as retailers, as formats, brands, we get very obtuse about the fact that these are profit drivers for us because cost of doing business is low. And then we start optimizing for the output and not necessarily maximizing the experience. The table stakes experience that was there 2 years ago has dramatically changed. She walks away into any other format, any other category, any other channel very, very quickly nowadays. So for us, that's been a challenge. So instead of now optimizing the output, we are looking at maximizing experience. She has to get a uniform experience. Otherwise, 5 years back also, people used to drive down to the nearest metro and shop there. They would do their annual shopping or quarterly shopping there, right? And the second biggest thing is that while this is definitely a great growth story, but the growth is, I mean, the size of price is not growing as exponentially as we'd like. The competitive intensity is growing even faster. So the cost of doing business, which was actually quite low, is not so anymore. So the playbook, while we don't have all the answers yet, but I think we are fixing it on the fly. We are definitely very excited about the opportunity. But these are two big challenges that all of us in the retail space need to really address. Otherwise, there's a graveyard of B category malls. There's a graveyard of a lot of stores shutting down. And I think it's not because the consumer isn't there. It's, I think, because we are taking the consumer for granted a little bit.
So the store in Kanpur should look and feel same like one in Delhi.
Perhaps even better. Because like everyone said, she's far more aspirational. A guy in Mumbai cares a little bit more about convenience than the latest fashion. Because we are seeing that Mumbai customer, and I think Amitabh also spoke, that quick commerce, we are getting everything, right? And we are far more basic and essential, whereas the small town customer is a far more aspirational, looking for on-point trend. She's far more aware of what's happening around her, and they are very, very demanding on value.
Okay.
So I think you have to do a better job there than you do in Bombay. That's my view on
From
value.
store point of view. So Amitabh ji, from store point of view, or a global brand like yours, how the smaller cities are different? What are the factors you take in when you go to a smaller town?
See, let's not stop calling it small town, because as a retailer and a brand, I'm going to go where the customer is. And if the customer is in a tier 2 or a metro, well, so be it. Just to give you guys two markers, e-commerce was 30% contribution in 2018 from tier 2, tier 3. In 2023, it's become 60% of e-commerce consumption. Airports in 2014 were 74. Airports in 2024 are close to 257. Now, 157. It's a 2x growth in airports. Now, we are roti kapda makan, we are a basic essential requirement for consumers. Understand the landscape of this country. There is a reason why tier 2 and tier 3 are getting empowered is because there's a business influx. There's an economy rise happening out here. There's more income coming in the hands of people. The audience is getting younger. They want to consume fashion because now they've got the wealth for it. So as India grows, we will grow along with it. So tier 2, tier 3 is a no-brainer. And it will all boil down to your execution. Now we have problems. We have problems in metro as well. It's not like metros are sorted out. We are awaiting for a lot of mall developers to go there. Today morning, I heard someone saying there's going to be a 26% rise in land base for tier 2, tier 3
Yes.
malls. Great. The costs have to be looked into. I think Karan made a very valid point that don't assume tier 2, tier 3 to be only cheaper. Because when the gold rush towards tier 2, tier 3 began, was because we just said, oh my God, the rental is 1/6 of what a metro is going to offer. So let's open a store out here. And then we began saying, oh, we've opened a store, but the store is not doing enough business. So let's cheapen the experience. Let's do a C category door. Let's put staff who's not as smart as what I would get in a metro. And consumer samajh jayega. That's the wrong choice made by a plethora of brands, which is why they are where they are. So please don't underestimate a tier 2, tier 3 or a metro. Don't underestimate a consumer. Give your consumer what your brand deserves to give them. Don't have this differentiation at a basic level. And it's all about trying to be relevant with your product mix. So while we speak about the tier 2, tier 3, being a brand retailer, I've always been thinking of one thing, be relevant to your consumer. If you are relevant, they're going to come back to you.
Thank you, thank you. That's very helpful. Kargib, there's all segment available here: ethnic, casual, formal. You are selling it as on e-commerce. Which segment do you think is more relevant for quick commerce?
I think it will have its own journey, just the way quick commerce has seen a journey starting from grocery first. I think Amita very rightly called out that it started on the base of that, and now it is pouring into all kinds of categories, which has basically been a similar journey for us as well. We started with supermarkets and adjacent categories, and for the last 3 months, we opened a large set of other categories as well. Your gifting, fashion, beauty. Similar trend, I think, will follow in the fashion segment and quick commerce too. Your immediate required products will see a growth first, effectively, wherein there is sudden need of something. And then possibly it will expand from there, because as people will start getting options, they will probably start getting rooted towards that. That, okay, if I can get something in half an hour, why not? So it will follow its own trend over the next few months. It may not take a very long time though, as maybe it would have taken for some other categories to pan out. It might be faster.
Samirji, your views on this? Do you think Meena Bazar selling it in 10 minutes?
Absolutely, and that's something that Garg and me were discussing. Why not? I definitely see this more as a repeat purchase, last minute purchase. If anybody has any wardrobe issues, fan of the brand, they want to buy one just for the convenience bit. That's the only use case scenario I personally see currently. Although she was very clear that, it can be a first point of contact for brands as well. We agree to disagree. But I mean, quick commerce is definitely convenience. Um, that's the way forward for everyone. Making sure the brand experience, even with quick commerce, is the same, be it with the packaging, be it with the other essentials of with clothing, returns or exchanges, or size changes, or if the consumer doesn't like it. Those are all issues that are yet to be, discussed or yet to figure out. But definitely going forward, quick commerce, each and every brand will be there. That convenience factor has to be there, but every brand has their own story. For Meena Bazaar, I feel it's the loyal customers who might need something last minute can utilize it, but for others it could be a daily form of ordering that if vegetables or even a charger or Blinkit does printouts as well. So it might be just a way of life.
Bazaar as well. Yes, yes. Kamalji, what do you think is the right way to go to non-metro cities? Like Rahul said, how? What is the answer to that how?
For how? Sorry.
Rahulji said that how you should go to a city, that's very relevant. So what do you think is the right way to go to a city, to enter a new city, which is not metro?
I'll choose to answer that a little differently. The how is different for every brand. But as at Mufti, I mean, we are an accessible fashion brand in the mid-premium to premium segment. So for us, it's very important wherever there is a consumer footfall, whether it be online or offline, in whichever city there is a demand for this kind of product, we have to be present in that market. That's the simple policy that we follow. I said even earlier that we were one of the early entrants in the tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 cities because we believed in that potential and we could see, we've also been a business that's been very, very MBO strong. Even today, approximately 45% of our business comes from the multi-brand outlets, which are the mom and pop run stores, not only in metros but even in the smallest of towns. And we are present in more than 1,000 doors in the MBOs, in 1,200 plus doors to be precise. Now, having MBOs in so many cities, the markets emerge slowly. As you see, in these markets, you see as the consumer is growing richer, as the consumer is growing aspirational, the MBOs begin to evolve. Initially, there are smaller towns where the MBOs don't stock national or international brands. They look at local brands. But as they begin to see that the consumer in their town is beginning to travel to another town to acquire, uh, you know, national brands or, brands like us, slowly the MBOs in those towns wake up and they start, to stock brands like us. And today we have shop and shops in many smaller towns as well, and even other brands have it. And slowly that town then emerges as a destination for, it becomes conducive for single brand retail, and then single brand stores come up. I mean, there are examples that I can give. If we look at Indore, let's say 12, 13 years ago, we had one store in Indore or two stores in Indore and a few MBOs. Today, we have 7 stores in Indore. So markets are growing horizontally, markets are growing vertically. So there are new markets that are emerging. There are same markets which are already present, which are expanding horizontally. So there's all kinds of growth happening. So the how is very relevant to every brand, but it's all about choosing the right uh, place to be where your target audience is going to be there.
Okay, thank you. Rahul, I'll come to you in the last. I'll ask Rajesh first. You mentioned 2, 3 cities, Dehradun, Batinda, and there's another one,
Kanpur.
Kanpur.
Yeah.
All these cities have recently seen a new mall coming up. That might be the reason for you to going there. So, is it a challenge again to get a right partner there in these cities?
So first of all, we open only company-owned stores, so we don't find a partner who, as a franchisee partner, who would run the store. But yes, when we go into the city, so there are a few things that we definitely look at because being a premium brand, we don't have catchments or TG everywhere. So first of all, we study the market itself, whether there is a relevant TG and where there would be like-minded brands also. Now within the city also, so recently I visited one city where we wanted to expand and there's a new mall coming up. So I went there and I didn't like the mall because A, that was not in the right part of the town. B, the right kind of agencies were not likely to be there in terms of the brand adjacencies. But I went to the other side of city and I really liked that location. So we might evaluate that particular mall instead of the new mall that is coming. So within the city also, we need to see that where your TG would be there, where your right kind of premium environment would be there so that you can provide complete experience to the customers. Now, while going to any city, not only tier 2, what we also do is we analyze the data pertaining to that particular catchment. And thankfully, because of the e-commerce, because we have our own brand website called lacoste.in, we are also able to analyze the data that within India, from which pin code we are getting more business, where we have our more TG. So that is the place that we target to reach there. But I would also like to, so after answering this, I would also like to add to one more part that you were asking here about the lower rentals that you talked about.
Yes.
But we should not look at lower rentals in absolute terms. See, low rental is only one part, one important and very costly part of doing the business in retail. But there are other elements also. One is the cost of goods. Cost of good doesn't change. So we believe in one brand, one voice. So we'll give the complete experience to the customers wherever we go. So the cost of goods will remain the same because the offering, it might change in terms of what kind of offer we have, but the quality would remain the same. The cost of goods will remain the same. Second part is the personal cost. As Amitabh also said that unless and until we give the right kind of experience to the customer, we can't hire people who can't speak good English, who can't give good experience to the customer. So it becomes very difficult. So we have to do those kind of costs in any case, plus the store interiors that we do. We spend a lot of money in doing the store interiors, and we don't do different interiors for a tier 1 or tier 2 cities. We do the same interior that we do in metro cities. Now for rental also, in absolute terms, they might look lower than the metro cities. But when you look at rent to revenue ratio, because the revenue is also not very high in these tier 1 or tier 2 cities as compared to metros. So it doesn't turn out to be very profitable on the bottom line. So this might be a misnomer or misunderstanding that in tier 2 cities, people are earning a lot of money. That doesn't happen.
True, true. Rahul, I would like you to close out the session with to answer that how you are talking about.
So well, like I said, that will take 2 hours. So I'll not give you the entire how.
We can do that offline.
That's
yeah.
also the secret sauce, which obviously I can't give out in the forum. Sorry, but I just want to underline one very specific point here. We talked about relevance. I think some of our co-panelists did talk about relevance. I think relevance is the key, not just in terms of which town class or tier that you're talking about, but also in terms of what specific selling channel you're choosing. Say, for example, we talked about Q-commerce. It's very important that you pick up the right portfolio fit for that channel. If you're going to try and rush through your entire portfolio through quick commerce, you're going to fall very, very badly. My learning out of what we've done at Body Shop, for example, is that there is a specific segment which is gifting, right? And this is a little bit of a secret sauce that I'm giving out. That's really fired up in quick commerce, right? And you all will be surprised. There's a premium skincare brand that we market and distribute called Kiehl's. We've just recently opened on quick commerce with a very, very specific targeted portfolio and is going through the roof. So relevance, and I think he talked about relevance. Relevance is very, very critical. If you look at all the Body Shop stores, say for example, in Mumbai, a Palladium store would have a local connect with the motifs that we've got in the store, for example, very, very relevant to the town. But if you go to a Viviana store, which is the other side of the city, you'd find the motifs are very different. Having said that, it's very critical that you maintain the ethos of the brand. The brand should be talking a similar tonality with a different flavor.
I think all of us will agree to it. Yeah.
Yeah. So and that's the whole thing. I think the opportunity is huge. I'm just trying to underline that point once again. It's not about town classes or going to a different town. There are all town classes that exist right here within 5-kilometer radius of where we are sitting.
Thank you. Thank you. If anyone wants to ask any question, they can ask. Otherwise, we'll close the session. Anyone from the audience wants to know something? Thank you. Thank you all the panelists for the insightful discussion. Thank you very much.